where we left off, and that is Mr. Portantino. I see you ready, willing, and able. This is members AB 2499, traffic schools. This is a due pass, members. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Portantino.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Vice Chair and members. AB 2499 consolidates all traffic violator school programs under the licensing authority of the Department of Motor Vehicles. Specifically, this bill assigns regulatory responsibility for overseeing the entire industry to DMV, requires courts to transmit conviction judgments to DMV for masking upon proof of course completion, keeps intact court's authority to contract with third parties, and that's very important. It keeps intact the court's authority to contract with third parties, authorizes and encourages DMV to use third-party contractors called TAPs to carry out this local responsibility. Fiscally, this bill has violators modest fee increases that entirely pay for the DMV's expanded oversight of the program, and there's no impact to the general fund. And I have with me today June Clark with the Judicial Council, Dennis Clear with, I believe, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm not sure if he's still here tonight, and Mike Belote representing the National Association of Driving Safety Educators.
All righty, we'll go to your witnesses. Go right ahead.
Thank you, June Clark, for the Judicial Council. On behalf of all those local courts who have been overseeing traffic violator schools, we strongly support transitioning oversight of traffic violator schools to the Department of Motor Vehicles, where it rightfully belongs. In addition, the Council supports this bill because we think it's better, it's good for the public. It's better to have uniform curriculum, uniform criteria and standards for licensing, and for those reasons we ask for your vote.
Very good. Thank you. Next.
Madam Chair and members, Mike Belote for the National Association of Driving Safety Educators. This is true regulatory reform. Every line in this bill has been reviewed and vetted and re-vetted. But imagine the benefit to our industry, which presently has to get approval to operate statewide, court by 58 courts. It's literally like having 58 regulators. This is something that's good for business, good for the economy, because it makes sense and it transfers authority where it belongs, and it makes it simple for people. One set of rules, one regulator, and like I say, we strongly support this bill, and it's been many years in coming. This is a very finely crafted product, and we would ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further testimony in favor of the bill? Thank you. Then we'll go to opposition testimony. If opposition testimony could come up. And we'll take the first couple of speakers, if you could lay out the issues, and then the rest can just identify themselves.
Madam Chair, Steve Kellemer on behalf of the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County. The board has an opposed unless amended position. We believe that, at least in Los Angeles County, this bill will result in less enforcement in the county and degrade the quality of the programs in the county. With me, I have Sean Rogan, who's with the Community Development Commission, and he has a few words to say.
Go right ahead. Next, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill. Again, my name is Sean Rogan. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Development Commission, the responsible agency for the county to administer the traffic school monitoring program. The Community Development Commission of the County of Los Angeles opposes AB 2499 unless amended. The bill's current language threatens to end our well-established traffic violator school monitoring program within the county. Ours is a court-assistant program known as a CAP, operated under contract with the Los Angeles Superior Court. Since 1997, we have conducted thorough and comprehensive traffic school monitoring programs within the county, which comprises up 40% of drivers within the state. For our jurisdiction, we monitor over 139 classrooms. We also visit over 668 locations annually, and we are also responsible for 87 home schools, totaling about 219 current programs over the internet. Over the past 10 years, the CDC has conducted 6,590 classroom traffic school monitorings and 1,096 business audits. Additionally, since the inception of this program in 2004, we've conducted over 877 home study business audits. We support that AB 2499 creates one regulatory body for both classroom and home study traffic violator schools. However, the legislation also proposes that the Department of Motor Vehicle take over local level monitoring throughout the state and prohibits courts from contracting with CAPS after the January 1st, 2013 date. This is not the first attempt to restructure traffic violator school monitoring. All previous attempts have failed, not only because of diminishing DMV funding and staffing resources, but also because the state is unable to maintain the standard of monitoring that currently exists within high-performing CAPS, such as ours in Los Angeles County. In 2003, we entered into a partnership with Los Angeles County Sheriff Department, which has proven effective in eliminating criminal activity by providing a law enforcement arm to traffic school monitoring. The DMV does not currently have this relationship with local law enforcement, and AB 2499 does not require the establishment of one. Without a local monitoring program in place to enforce the code, fraud, and noncompliance, this will increase problems with both the consumers and as well as the schools.
I have a motion from Senator Leto. Can you conclude, and then we're going to move on?
Certainly. Let me conclude really quickly. In terms of reading the bill analysis, which was provided just prior to the Appropriations Committee this morning at 11 o'clock, it speaks to a number of budgetary items that, quite honestly, we don't understand how these numbers were derived. You have a $2.5 million annual budget that's provided for the DMV to administer a statewide program. I can tell you within the County of Los Angeles, our current program between the sheriff and the monitoring staff is $2.9 million. In addition, there's a establishment of about $40,000 to create a statewide computer system that is supposed to link all the programs and the certificates in the courts. I doubt seriously that for $40,000 such a system can be created. That concludes my testimony. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Next please. And Mr. Portantino, I'll ask you to respond to Los Angeles County's concerns when we finish with the testimony.
Madam Chairperson and committee members, Mario Balbiani, representing California Traffic Safety Institute.
Alrighty.
I started the licensing program when I was at DMV in 1986. The comprehensive licensing.
Hold it. We need those seats. I'm sorry. I don't want to. So because there's still more testimony, and if there's questions, we'll call you up. Go right ahead.
Thank you. CTSI is not opposed to the licensing. We believe that's a fair and equitable way to go. Like LA County, we're a CAP program. Been very active in monitoring in 27 counties. We believe that the consistent monitoring is what's kept this industry relatively clean over the last few years. And we also question the fees, and not the fees per se, but the costs. There is no cost associated with developing the list that has to be published on a monthly basis. There is no cost associated with that have been identified. Currently, all they have today is a PDF file. The legislation requires them to print out a list on a daily basis that's randomized by each county and such, and there's no cost associated with that. We believe that there are significant costs believed in that, and we are opposed.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Bill Mulder with the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department, appearing on behalf of Sheriff Lee Baca and the LA County District Attorney's Office. We're opposed to this bill unless amended. We feel that the program is already an excellent program in Los Angeles, and if this bill is passed, that program will go away. And in the current state of the DMV, they'll not be able to provide this kind of service that we provide in LA County to ensure that this program is this program goes well.
Executed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
My name is Dwight Hinesley, and I represent National Administrative Service. We're a CAP company, and I oppose the bill.
Thank you. Next, please.
Madam Chair, Kathy Lynch, representing Coordinated Court Services, and we're one of the CAPs also in strong opposition to the bill.
Madam Chair, members, I'm Kathy Barankin, representing National Traffic Safety Administration, and I was here 25 years ago when we took the authority away from the DMV and gave it to the CAP, so just playing revolving doors here.
All righty. Thank you for your input. Before we go to the author of finance, will you give us your summary?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. This bill requires that the fee charged to the traffic violator schools fully cover DMV's costs to administer the program, except for the costs of the database to monitor the enrollment in attendees. And the Department of Motor Vehicles believes that that cost would be minor and absorbable.
Thank you. Mr. Portantino, do you want to respond to Los Angeles concerns?
Yes. First of all, I'm a resident of Los Angeles County, and
that didn't escape my notice. So
yeah, and
your county doesn't like this bill very much.
My county doesn't like this bill, and my good friend, the sheriff, is a good friend, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to respectfully disagree, and that's where we're at today. Nothing in this bill precludes DMV from contracting with the folks who currently do this. It allows them to do that, and it's logical that DMV is going to need enforcement. And it's logical that they're going to go back and look at what systems work and where is it working well, and consider contracting with those folks. What this bill doesn't do is mandate that every single person throughout the state has to be hired in the capacity that they're doing now. But it allows that to happen, and frankly, in many cases, it will happen. There's nothing in this bill that will adversely affect Los Angeles' ability to enforce this measure. What it does do is say that there will be a state standard administered by one state agency, so folks who have an issue in one county have stability as they go from county to county to county. It makes perfect sense on a public policy grounds to consolidate. It makes perfect sense on fiscal grounds to consolidate, and it makes perfect sense, again, on the enforcement to set standards throughout the state. And again, it will allow those folks on the ground in those counties who are doing a good job to be considered to be contracted by the DMV. So, frankly, we think we've covered all those bases. What we're not going to do is we're not going to exempt out a particular county. We're not going to give different rules for different counties, because that's the opposite of what we're trying to do, which is to create a standard.
Thanks very much, Mr. Portantino. Comments from the members? There is a motion by Senator Leno. Seeing no further comments, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Allquist? Aye. Allquist, aye. Ashburn? Aye. Ashburn, aye. Corbett? Aye. Corbett, aye. Emerson? Emerson, aye. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Price? Aye. Price, aye. Walters? Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Oh, we will leave it open for Mr. Weiland because he's in committee. So my apologies for members that I closed the roll earlier, but we'll, as long as you're in a committee, I'll keep it open.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Portantino. We have two authors that should come to the hearing room for votes only on their bills under reconsideration. Mr. Nilo for AB 2328 and Mr. Huffman for AB 2776. And Mr. Nielsen, you're up next. You're presenting AB 2627.
Madam Chair and honorable members, I appreciate the indulgence of the committee. This is to suspense, but I'd like to just bring the bill up to assuage some of the concerns that may affect it getting off of suspense. This bill deals with disabled veterans business enterprises, and in a way to affect greater participation and an ability to meet the statutory goal of 3% participation in the contracting of disabled veterans business enterprises. And the pathway is the existing business utilization program at the Department of General Services. And the provision here would be to allow some of the auxiliary services that are a part of contracting to be included in the disabled veterans qualifications. That would be such as accounting, landscaping, other things that go to support the actual construction of the project. In other words, if those subs would be qualifying disabled veterans enterprises, then that would help the larger contractor qualify, and that is our goal, to have more individuals, more companies to be able to participate. As to the cost, the utilization program is already on the books, and we would stipulate there are costs. We would argue that they're rather minor. We don't anticipate, even with the encouragement, that the universe of participants is going to be huge anyway, and that these costs can be accommodated. In an additional way to help accomplish the goal, I would be willing to work with an amendment that would delay the implementation date We don't know tonight because we haven't got all the stakeholders here because of the way the day went, but a year to 18 months that the bill would pass, become chaptered, but then we would delay the actual implementation to allow the Department of General Services to work reasonably for the most cost-effective way to implement and comply.
Let us look at that amendment, Mr. Nielsen, while it's on suspense. We'll go to your witnesses now, and then we'll take finance. I'm going to lose members. It's been a long day. So we will take up the vote only for vote only. That's the Nilo item and the Huffman item. Ms. Khan, would you like to give us your statement?
Jamie Kahn here on behalf of the Associated General Contractors, and we are the sponsors of the bill. Actually, we're co-sponsoring it with the DVBE Alliance. What we understand is the issue that this bill is trying to address is capacity. The DVBE community is growing. There's more subs now, but there's still not enough to really deal with the 3% requirement. We're looking at this particular bill with a business utilization plan as an option, additional option for contractors, so that they can hire DVBEs that perform other indirect services that can be attributable to the 3% requirement. We believe that we have talked to General Services about the implementation. With the delayed implementation, I think that they believe that they would still have to develop the regulations, but I think that those would be costs that might be absorbable. They also will have to do an ongoing program, but the business utilization plan is already in place, so they have some experience with it. And also, the number of folks that they think will be participating in this, we think is a very small number and not a very large number. So we'd like to discuss that with them as well.
Thank you. We are all ears while it's on suspense. Finance, do you have comments on this one?
The Department of General Services estimates it would result in one-time costs in 2010-11 of $222,000 and annual costs of $660,000 to support 14 positions to review, certify, and oversee and audit BUPs, train departments on the BUP reporting requirements, prepare legislative reports, and develop implementation forms, processes, and procedures related to the BUPs. And they do note that there are additional costs, but they are unknown or unable to quantify them for tracking and reporting, investigative and civil filings, and a few other things.
Thank you. Members, any comments? This is the suspense item, so without objection, we'll move it there.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Chair and
Nielsen.
members.
And please get us that amendment as soon as possible so we know what to look for. Members, then we'll go to the vote-only items, and then I'll go back to the top of the file. We just have a handful of items remaining where presentation has been waived. So right now, we'll take up AB 2328 by Mr. Nilo. This is Air Resources Board membership. Is there testimony in favor? Is there any opposition testimony? Finance, are you got another comment?
I don't have anything additional to state.
Senator Ashburn, our new vice chair, moves the bill. We had a little discussion about this earlier. Members, I don't think this is a way to go at our State Air Resources Board membership qualifications, so I would urge a no vote. Then we'll call the roll, please.
Kehoe?
No.
Kehoe, no. Alquist?
No.
Alquist, no. Ashburn?
Aye.
Ashburn, aye. Corbett? Emerson? Emerson, aye. Leno?
No.
Leno, no. Price?
No.
Price, no. Walters? Wolk? Wyland? I'm sorry?
No.
Wolk, no. Wyland? Yee? 2 to 5.
2 to 5. I'll leave it.
He's in committee, and I thought he was coming back.
Okay, I'll leave it, and then
We'll check.
All right. We'll leave that open for Mr. Wyland. Then we'll go to Mr. Huffman's bill on agricultural and municipal use of water. This is AB 2776. Vote only, so I guess I really don't have to call for testimony. Is that correct? All right. Do we have a motion on the bill? This is a do pass. Senator Leno, I think, got in under the wire. Any comments from the members? Then we'll call the roll, please.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Ashburn?
No.
Ashburn, no. Corbett?
Aye.
Corbett, aye. Emerson?
No.
Emerson, no. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Price?
No.
Price, no. Walters? Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Wyland? Yee? 5 to 3. He needs one more.
5-3. He needs one more vote. We'll leave it open again for Mr. Weiland, but I don't think that'll be the vote he needs. And now we'll go back to the top, the middle part of the file. The next item, and all remaining are waived presentations. The next item is AB 1844 by Mr. Fletcher, having to do with punishment and parole of sex offenders. This is the Chelsea King law. Is there testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Finance, your comments?
I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong.
This is 1844 by Mr. Fletcher.
Madam Chair, AB 1844 would result in net costs of about $90 million in the first full year of implementation and about $118 million in the second. These costs do not include the significant mandate costs we anticipate for local governments. Total costs to the state and local governments from the reimbursable mandates in the out years would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars annually.
Members, this is, again, suspense. Is there any comments? Without objection, we'll move it to suspense. I overlooked one item further up. That is AB 1445 by Mr. Chesbro. This is federally qualified Medi-Cal. Is there testimony on this? Testimony in favor of 1445 by Mr. Chesbro. Opposition testimony. Finance, your comments?
Although the exact increase in the number of separately billable visits is unknown, an increase of 2 visits per facility per month would result in an annual cost of $2.3 million, of which $1.3 million would be from the general fund. The Department of Health Care Services maintains that an indeterminate but potentially significant cost increase to the Medi-Cal program would result from this bill. And additionally, the Department of Health Care Services is already paying for mental health care services for some Medi-Cal beneficiaries under the Medi-Cal Specialty Health Care Services Consolidation Waiver, and consequently the bill could increase the mental health expenditures Medi-Cal program by over $1 million annually.
All righty. Any comments from the members on the Chesbro bill? Seeing none, the item goes to suspense. Next is Mr. Fong, AB 1975, water charges and multi-unit apartments. Testimony in favor? Opposition. Come on up, please. This is opposition testimony?
Yes.
All righty. Go right ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Ron Kingston representing the Apartment Association, California Southern Cities. Make no bones about it, this bill is not a water conservation bill as purported to be. In particular, it bans landlords from collecting any fees associated with the cost of water or sewer charges from any tenant. And as a consequence, as a result of that, it is going to be one of the most substantial no-growth bills that the legislature will face this year. If you can't collect for a service that the tenant pays, water and sewer, why build the project at all? The second thing, and the final issue that we have problems with, is the bill also permits thousands of the water purveyors that provide water to make up all their own individual rules. This would be a major breach of state law. State law always has had one uniform building code applied to all jurisdictions. And the other part is these water purveyors could dictate to all cities and county building inspection departments what they want as opposed to working together. And as a consequence, we inalterably oppose this bill.
All right, next. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I on? Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Carrie Mazzoni for the Executive Council of Homeowners. Madam Chair, you said that this was related to apartments. However, in a meeting with the sponsor of the bill this week, he explicitly said that this was for all multi-unit buildings going forward. I represent common interest developments. We have worked with the author from the very beginning of this bill, asking either for an exemption for common interest developments or address our needs, because if this bill goes forward, it's not clear relative to common interest developments and fees, and the costs for reading submeters would roll over to the volunteer board of the associations. They don't have the capacity to do this kind of work. They would have to hire out for it. That, in turn, would raise association fees. So we ask that you either force an amendment that addresses the common interest development issues or that you vote no on the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzoni. You're correct. It does apply to condominiums or common interest development, so you're good to point that out. It is headed towards suspense, so we'll continue to look at it for a couple more days. You, sir, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, members, I'm John Smock with the Apartment Association of Orange County. For the reasons expressed, we're opposed to the bill. Two additional items that I should mention. One is no policy committee in this legislature has considered the development and the operation of rental properties. None in the Assembly, none here in this House. No one has paid any attention to the effect of landlord-tenant law, which we think is absolutely critical before you put sticks in the ground. We're in a fiscally challenging period, and throughout the history of California and the nation, it's building that leads the way, it's construction that leads the way for fiscal responsibility. You're not going to put any sticks in the ground if you pass this bill. Building will stop.
Thank you for your comments. Any additional testimony, pro or con? Seeing none, finance, your comments?
HCD indicates it would require $310,000 general fund per year for 2 years. And additionally, we estimate that they would require additional costs and additional expenditure authority to hire various consultants needed because they do not have the expertise to develop policies and methods for tracking water usage and for billing that usage.
Thank you. Members, unless there's objections, the item goes to suspense. Next is Ms. Hayashi's AB 2275, non-covered dental benefits. Is there testimony in favor or opposed? Seeing none, finance, your comments.
I don't have a file on this measure.
All righty. Members, seeing no objection, seeing no objections, the item goes to suspense. Let's see. Mr. Perez has AB 2437, State Economic Development. Testimony in favor? Is there any opposition? Finance, you have a comment on this one?
The State Treasurer's Office indicates that the fiscal impact of this bill is estimated at $221,000.
Without objection, the item goes to suspense. Ms. Brownlee has AB 2463, Child Care Resources and Referral. Is there testimony in favor? Is there opposition? Finance, your comments?
I don't have an analysis on this measure.
Without objection, the bill goes to suspense. The next item is AB 2599 by Speaker Emeritus Bass. It has to do with Medi-Cal service delivery in South Los Angeles. Is there testimony for the bill? Is there testimony against the bill? Seeing none, finance?
The bill could cost the state tens of millions of dollars by establishing additional funding mechanisms which are generally at higher levels than current providers receive.
If there's no further comment, then, without objection, the bill goes to suspense. And the last item for presentation that has been waived is Speaker Perez's Land Use Planning Clearinghouse, AB 2754. Testimony, please. Come right up.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Alan Lind on behalf of the Association of Environmental Professionals. We're in strong support of this measure. We think it's very important for the state of California.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Any other testimony for or against? Finance, do you have a comment?
OPR's costs would increase by $229,000 general fund, and it would require 3 additional staff positions.
All righty. Without objection, that bill goes to the suspense file as well, and that concludes the file today. We have a couple of items on call. Do we know if Senator Weiland wants to return? All righty. He's on his. We'll wait for a few minutes for. All righty. We have one bill on call where Mr. Wyland has already voted. That's AB, is that 2724 by Mr. DeVore? It is AB 724. Sally, and you want to call the absent members? This is Mr. DeVore's bill on non-probate transfers.
Alquist? No. Alquist, no. Emerson?
This is
Price? Walters? So that's 2 to 6.
2 to 6. Mr. Wyland's already voted. That bill fails. We'll close the roll. And we will grant reconsideration. Thank you, members. Yes, I'll wait for Mr. Wyland. Appreciate everyone's help. Do you want to stay until Mr. Wyland comes? Make sure I don't call any adjustments.
See you Thursday.
I might not. As long as you don't allow him to speak on each motion. Vote on.
I had to talk to one of the other members. I turned around and he was talking about World War II. What happens with this? Am I right? He was talking about World War II earlier?
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Leno. Appreciate all those motions. That's fine. Senator Wyland, we've got 3 items open. You can take your seat. We won't rush you. That are on call, and we just would, if you'd like to vote on them, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, I'm vice chair.
All righty. One is the first one is AB 2499 by Mr. Portantino on traffic school programs. It's a due pass, and Sally Ann will give you the rundown.
Everyone's an aye.
It's all aye votes.
Wyland, aye. 10 to 0.
10 to 0. That bill is out. Next are the votes only. Mr. Nilo's AB 2328. We discussed it earlier. Sally Ann, will you call the roll? You give us the vote. Call the roll.
Chair is no. The vice chair is aye. Wyland, aye. No one else is here, so that would be 3 to 5.
3 to 5. That bill fails.
Reconsideration.
A second time?
No, I'm sorry. No, we can't.
Oh, that's right.
No, we can't.
Already?
No, it's failed.
AB 27. The bill fails.
Yes.
It has been granted reconsideration once.
Right.
Next is Mr. Hoffman's AB 2776, agricultural and municipal water use. And will you give us the votes?
The chair is an aye. The vice chair is no. Wyland, no. So that's 5 to 4. It's failed.
5 to 4. That bill fails, and it's under reconsideration today, so it will not be coming back. That concludes the file. Thank you, everyone, for your help. Thank you to the staff. The meeting is.
See you.